Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Discomfort. Oh, only a few days in, and realize the more you start to look at the discomfort of things, what's uncomfortable, the more you find. It's everywhere, it's in everything, it is part of everything. So, welcome. And just in case you haven't met me, I'm Beverly. Wonderful to have you join me here. Um, So, what is this, day 3? I'm not going to keep counting the days because at some point I'll lose track, but I think this is around the third day. We're just shortly into 2025. Doesn't even matter if you're listening in 2026 or later because discomfort is not going to stop after this year. But I am focusing on it. And I thought I would just record this. I wasn't actually planning this one, but I'm still waiting for my hair to dry before I head off to sleep. And I'm waiting for my hair to dry because I went swimming. I'm thinking, okay, so a lot of people swim. I went swimming with a couple of students of mine, a couple of friends who are also students, clients, whatever you would like to call them, whatever they want to call themselves. They are wonderful beings and I enjoy their company. So, what is the discomfort in going for a swim? Well, the reason we went for a swim was to practice. And what are we practicing? We're practicing swimming because together we have started taking swim lessons a few months ago. We started taking swim lessons because one of the students asked me if I would do it with them so I could also give pointers on how their bodies were working afterwards, where we could go and practice swims and I could point out different things that I know from a perspective of anatomy and yoga and movement and the breathing, what things could help them and support them in moving forward quicker in this journey. But oh, the gifts. The gifts are not just for them, the gifts are for me. Why would I say yes to swim lessons? Not just because I want to support them, but because I've always wanted to know how to swim better than I do. I can get in the ocean, I will force myself and I will get where I need to go, but with a lot of energy wasted and not too pretty. How did I get there at my age to this place where I make it through swimming? Well, when I was a child, my father's rule of thumb for learning to swim was sink or swim. Throw you off the end of the dock. You better start paddling because nobody's going to save you. Even if he was in the water with me, he just, he was his own special breed. Story that will happen later on this year, I'm sure. But he didn't understand that everybody's different and there's different personality requirements and there's a different need for every child. And that was not the way to get me to want to swim ever again, be thrown into a lake, to be left to sink and flounder. And then one of my sisters had a friend that came to the cottage, my grandparents' old paper thin cottage. And she decided at my young age to share a story with me about how seaweed, which there was a lot of in our lake, how seaweed was alive and it wanted to wrap itself around you and pull you under and drown you. Add to that a number of other stories and incidents, and I was not really happy with water. I had no desire to leave the shallow part of the lake and swim through those killer weeds to get to the other side. And I couldn't see what was under me, and it scared me. And it was the most horrible thing. And somewhere along the line, and all this discomfort, not really knowing how to swim well, in my 20s, I went to Australia and pushed myself. Oh, that's again, story for another time, but that was an entire world of living in discomfort in many, many good ways and in many terrifying ways. But one of the things I did was force myself to do a dive course because I got to do it for free working at a hostel. So I did. And I had to face that water. And I found out it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it wasn't learning to swim. It was learning how to go under. And that was under where I could see everything, where I could move because I had fins on and I had flotation devices and I had everything that made me safe, even if for some people it may not feel safe. So when this student of mine said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I went, yeah, I really do. I want to do this. I need to do this. And it wasn't comfortable the first couple goes. It's still not comfortable because there's still things I'm learning. But I very quickly went from, oh, right, how do I get my face under the water again? How do I breathe underwater? How do I expel so that I'm not sucking water up my nose? How do I breathe when I turn my head so I'm not sucking in this horrible chlorine water that I really never wanted to get in because I don't like chlorine? All these things, numerous added layers of all my stuff. And once I got into the rhythm of the breathing and the moving, I just let myself apply my practices, my external practices, the ones I use on a physical daily basis, the breathing practices, the movement practices, how I hold my body, how to extend the body, and went, right, this makes so much sense. The only difference is there's now water supporting me. So I'm playing with it. And that movement of pushing through the discomfort of all my old stories, all my childhood, all my belief that I just had no clue how to swim, or maybe I'm just not a good swimmer, all these stories, very quickly melted away. And I'm getting closer to that place where it feels really cool to have this power to go from one end of the pool to the other, to just feel at ease and floating around and sliding under the water and back up above the water. And it didn't take much. It took the voices of a couple of good instructors, both with their very different ways of teaching, but who very caringly want to see the people who arrive actually meet the challenge of being in the water and find the joy of swimming. For me, it was having two other people I wanted to support to see them do well, that also gave me the impetus to really dive. I'm not pun, no pun was intended, but to dive into it, to really pay clear attention to everything that was going on, which took me outside of my discomforts and let me be present fully for myself so that I could then be present for others. So, what can you do in your life? What things have you been putting off or pushing aside or not really getting into fully, not experiencing as well as you could simply because of old stories or old ways of being or contentment with the way that you were getting through? I was content with being able to jump off a boat and get to what I wanted to do and just paddle around. But now I've moved past contentment. I'm like, I want more. I'm going to do the next level. I want to see what I'm capable of. I want it to be a part of my life. It's like a moving meditation for me. So, what is it that you feel like you might gain? What is it you are missing by not pushing yourself a little into that discomfort? What story, my 5-year-old self, 4-year-old self, however I was, what story do you want to let go of? I don't want that to be my only story. That my father laughed when I started freaking out in the water. That's a story. I also enjoyed playing in the water when all that wasn't present. I want to remember that story. What's yours? What's your thing? Riding a bike? Oh, wouldn't that be a great challenge if you've never done it? How about cross country skiing? How about running a 5 kilometer run? What about actually taking up cooking? Or maybe you wanted to try baking and you were never thought you could bake well. Maybe you burnt a cake when you were a kid. Again, another story there. And you thought, oh, I'm not good at this. Don't make all the discomforts big things. Make them things that are personal or can be joyful for you, or maybe they just make you feel good. They give you a skill that would be a really handy skill. Consider it. Doesn't have to be thought of right away, but there's a good chance it's not going to take you long to find that thing. And apply what's already been talked about the last couple of days to this and see what happens. I really do want to hear. I'm looking forward to it. Have fun with your discomfort.